Alright, this is Professor Homa again, and we're going to do part 2 of the Mac OS and just go over some basic folder operations, some basic file management. And we do that through the Mac application called the Finder. Down here in the bottom left part of our dock is the Finder, and if we click on this application, which is always running, it's going to open up a window. By the way, this window, if you do not see icons along the top of this kind of chrome bar, it could be that that button was clicked. That button doesn't really have a name, but if you don't see icons, click the button and it will show the icons. The other buttons you do recognize: closing a window, minimizing a window, which puts it down on the dock, and I can maximize it again, and making the window as large as it will be to show everything that's inside the window. It doesn't fill up the whole screen. But again, I'm going to open a window, and on your computer you should see a link to a folder called Student Files, and inside there you may have previous folders, you may have other names. Right now I have one called Untitled folder, which I don't want, so I'm going to right click and just go Move to Trash, which is just deleting it. And I'm going to make a new folder inside of Student Files. Now keep in mind that previous folders is also inside of Student Files, but we're going to have named folders in this area. So I'm going to right click and select New Folder, and I'm going to put my last name and my first and middle initial and hit Return, and that makes a new folder, and it jumps to the top alphabetically. And in this column view, it's showing there's another column here. When it's highlighted, it's showing me, here's the column that's showing me the contents of that folder, which right now there's no contents. Other ways to view these folders are as icons, and I'd have to go back to see the folder I was in. Here's my folder in icon view. Here's Student Files in details view or list view, similar to Windows. Here's column view, which I like to use. There's also show items as icons or cover flow, which I find somewhat useless, so I'm going to stick to column view, and I'm going to add a new folder inside my folder by just right clicking and selecting new folder. And I'm going to select CG1, and I hit return, and I notice I made a mistake. It says CG exclamation point. To change that, I could just select it, which highlights the folder, select it again right on the text, and it's now the text is highlighted. And I could either retype everything, or I could click my cursor in there and backspace and type a 1, because that's what I want for Computer Graphics 1, CG1, and I'll hit return. And if I want a folder inside this folder, I'm going to right click over here, and I'm going to make a folder called Exercises. And in the same folder, not inside Exercises, and I notice I made a mistake there too, so I'll put my S at the end. And in this same folder, I'm going to right click and make a new folder called Projects. These are folders that you'll use to store your exercises and projects. So in column view, I could scroll back to see the main directory of Student Files, which has my folder and previous folders. As I click inside there, I'll see CG1 is inside of mine, Exercises is inside of mine, and Projects is inside of the CG1 folder. And I have no other files in there yet. So that's the basics of making a folder. I can move folders around. If I no longer needed this folder, I could drag it to the trash can if I want to delete it. I don't want to do that right now, so I won't leave go of my mouse. I could drag it into previous folders, which it got moved inside there. If I didn't want to do that, I could drag it out, and now it's outside of that folder. And I'm going to close this window right now. And again, whenever I want to navigate, I could go down to the Finder icon, or I could go to Go Computer, click on Student Files, and find my information that I want to find. I could open files like this, or I can drag them to a disk if I was going to burn a disk, or I could drag them to a thumb drive if I was going to save them to a USB backup. But this is where you would do your basic file management, navigating to find things. When you save files to these folders, you'll see something similar, but you won't do it through your Finder. But what you will do through your Finder is rename folders, move them, make new folders, or even delete folders. You'll do all that while you're working in the Finder. So I'll stop right there with this part of just basic file management using Mac OS.